Hello there and welcome to another insightful episode of Aau Talks on Aau TV. I'm your host. Joined us, it is Aau Talks and we're on Aau TV. Today we're discussing the higher education space in Rwanda. I'm your host, Ajimo Chudako, and with me here are very important personalities in the University of Rwanda. To begin, close to me is who in terms of enrollment into our higher learning spaces. But let's cue it down to Rwanda. What is Rwanda's actions towards this estimation? How are we going to find ways and means to enroll this population of youth into our higher education space?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a very pertinent question, particularly if you consider the fact that it is acknowledged that people who have access to higher education have better opportunities for jobs and employment.
Yes.
So definitely as the population increases, there's going to be a need for more higher education facilities to accommodate the increase in the need. So talking of massification of higher education, of course, it has its issues. There are limited resources to be able for universities to accommodate everybody who wants to come in. So that means there is a pressure on the infrastructure.
Okay.
But
so embracing the suggestion of the e-learning system draws the issue of cost. So how affordable, or how is it to afford education in Rwanda in terms of program of study and the levels as well?
Actually, the issue of e-learning is having proper infrastructure in terms of internet connectivity, and of course the capacity of the people to absorb the technology. But certainly it is more cost effective than having to build new buildings and facilities, laboratories to accommodate an increasing number of people. Because if you use online learning, people will be at home, people will be in their offices, they will also be able to learn at leisure. So the issue of costs will come into training and expanding internet facilities. Luckily in Rwanda, the issue of connectivity is not as bad as in a number of countries. We have an extensive fiber backbone, almost reaching every corner of the country. So it's a matter of getting the right kind of facilities for institutions to access the backbone. And there are plans to make sure that higher learning institutions have better facilities in terms of access to internet connectivity.
Okay, so let's switch focus to the University of Rwanda currently. What is the student size to teaching and non-teaching staff?
Okay, I'll let
1,000. And among these, we have 48% who are in non-STEM programs, and 52% are in STEM. So in terms of gender, we have 33% who are female, and 67% who are male. So we still have a challenge of raising the number of female students. In terms of staff, we have a total of about 2,000 staff. Among these, we have 64% are from academic, and 35% are administrative and support staff. In terms of female, 24% are female. Gender, 24% are female, and 76% are male. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just to add, in terms of the student-staff ratio, the average is about 1 to 20. Strategic plan, we acknowledge the need and the importance for having foreign students coming to study in our university. Also for having foreign staff. When it comes to undergraduates, we are not doing very well. I think around about 1.5% of our undergraduates are international students, many of them from the region, within the East African region. When it comes to postgraduates, we are doing slightly better, and this has been because of the centers of excellence, which we have. We have about 8 regional centers of excellence, and many of them are attracting students from the region and beyond. These are part of the World Bank funded centers of excellence. We have 4 of them in energy for sustainable development, Internet of Things, data science, and then innovation in teaching, learning, maths, and science. So we have a good number of students from outside who are increasing the proportion of international students on the postgraduate side. Okay. Undergraduate side, we would like to increase. One of the reasons that we have a low proportion of international students in undergraduates is because of the universities that were made. Mostly we used to attract local students. But now this is changed, okay, and there is encouragement of mobility of students across the foreign countries coming to study here.
Okay, so the mention of the inter-university mobility program, yes, encourages staff and students to visit other universities around, yeah, for experience. Yeah, of this exchanges so far.
Well, the exchange is good in the sense that you get cross-pollination of ideas, mm-hmm, and also the fact that, like for staff, we may not have staff in certain areas, but their expertise are available in the staff from other countries, so they can come and complement. For students, I think it's more to do with the enhancement of the student experience. Because okay, if you study with people from different cultures, from different countries, I think there is a point where you can get to know about other people from other countries, which I think is part of learning that is very useful in life.
Okay.
To add on that,
sure,
we have also our fees. What we have done to attract more international students is that we charge the same fees for the local students and international students. The fees is the same.
Okay.
So we have done that to encourage international students to join the university.
Okay, let's talk about graduates and absorption rate into industry. That is a very pertinent matter everywhere we go. How can you say, after maybe I believe you've done a tracer study on how well absorbed graduates from the University of Rwanda are into the industry, what have you got to say about that too as well?
Yes, this is there was a study carried out I think 2 or 3 years ago in East Africa, mm-hmm, and Rwanda's graduates were among the highest in terms of being accepted in industry. But it is a problem worldwide about the employability of graduates, okay, because one of the complaints which is worldwide is that when the students finish the university, they are more armed with knowledge than skills. And the way we have tried to address this issue at the University of Rwanda is that we have integrated into the curriculum a course called Innovation and Entrepreneurship, mm-hmm, which is being offered by one of the foundations that are well known for offering entrepreneurship programs in universities, called Wadhwani Foundation. This is a very hands-on way of teaching the entrepreneurship to such an extent that by the time the students finish, some of them are also able to run projects. Now, in addition to the entrepreneurship program, we have introduced what we call graduate attributes that are integrated into the intended learning outcomes. Mm-hmm. And these are intended to develop the students what they used to call them soft skills, but now they call them power skills.
Sure.
Communication skills, creative thinking, teamwork, what is the other? Multilateral thinking.
Yeah, leadership skills.
Leadership skills. The dynamic situation which is happening outside, because the employability situation is very dynamic, so people are equipped with the right kind of skills so that they are able to cope. And that is what we're emphasizing in our university. We have a Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which is encouraging even the development of innovation to enhance the employability of our graduates.
Hello there, and if you just joined us, it is AU Talks on AU TV. We're discussing the higher education space in Rwanda. We'll have to go for a quick pause. When we come back, we'll be talking about the contribution of the University of Rwanda to the people in Rwanda. Stay tuned.
My name's Phil Cotton. I'm Vice-Chancellor of the University of Rwanda. The mission and the vision of the University of Rwanda, like most, you expect any of my staff or students to remember it, because to remember it is to lose the essence of it. Because the essence of it is about creating a space in which young people can be the best. That's what's really behind the vision and the mission. And once you create a space at the university for young people to become the best, then you can fulfill everything else that you find embedded and enshrined within the mission and vision of the University of Rwanda. And that is about national development. That is about creating leaders. That's about creating people who will contribute to the communities that they're a part of, the smaller communities, but also the larger communities, and then that community that we call the nation.
Hi there, it is AU Talks. If you just joined us, it is your host, Ajimo Chudako, and I have here very important personalities from the University of Rwanda as we discuss higher education space in Rwanda. So let's come back to one of the most important things that we're asking. It is paramount that every university's activities also channel to the people around it, both formal and informal. Those who haven't got the opportunity to also enroll in the university also have to also get some benefit from the university. So I want to ask, what are some of the contributions or some of the activities that the University of Rwanda is doing to benefit the people, the indigents in this country, both formal and informal?
I think I'll let Prof. Jagani answer that. And the reason is, if you look at how useful the university is to the society, of course there is teaching and learning.
Sure.
Graduates come, students come in, they get taught, and then they come out, they're supposed to work.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, the university is supposed to carry out what we call research and also community engagement. And in research, it can contribute in a number of ways, because the research addresses some of the problems that are in the society, both current and also futuristic.
Okay.
And then also the community engagement, of course, is dealing with sometimes the actual problems that are happening and finding immediate solutions. But maybe on the research side, I'll let Prof. Jagani make a contribution.
All right, so Prof. Dio.
To your question.
Yes. Well, the university contributes to the society in a number of ways.
Yes.
And university has actually structured itself in 3 different ways. It's research, it is teaching, and it's community engagement. So you've got really the formal part of research, and the kind of research we're doing is what we call impact research.
Okay.
The research that is really addressing the needs of the country, the needs of the society. So the kind of research we are doing is an issue of, it is informed by the need of the society.
Okay.
So you find that our researchers are involving the community in part of their research. If we go back to the curriculum that we actually offer, if I may just step back on the undergraduate curriculum.
Okay.
The undergraduate curriculum, all of it is developed with the involvement of the stakeholders, which is both industry, community, and the wider society. So, but as far as the research is concerned, that tries to address the needs of the country. At the current time, for example, we are in a negotiation with our funder, with CEDA, and we have actually grouped our research in such a way that it addresses the needs, and these have been put into certain clusters, and there are 10 of them, and those 10 are talking to SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, which really addresses the needs of the country. So the research is actually very well targeted. If you look at our centers of excellence, they are not only addressing the needs of Rwanda, but they are addressing the need of the region. So they are a regional hubs of knowledge to be able to generate that one and then disseminate it to the region, addressing very, very important aspects of the region. So there is that aspect of making sure that the research that is being done is having an impact into the society. Of course, then we do have the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and that one is really not only looking at formal innovation, but is looking at the informal sector. the innovation that is coming from the informal sector, and how it can be mainstreamed, or it can be helped to be able to have an impact into the society. So we have these pockets of activities that are really addressing the need of the society. And the other thing is, of course, is common knowledge that every single graduate who graduates from Rwanda gets employment, definitely has an impact in the community where they come from.
Okay, so machines are gradually taking over human. We live in the 21st century. We find this so much disturbing to how they are being redundant. Should this be a worry for higher education spaces in Africa in terms of Rwanda?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Because while the Internet of Things, or what you refer to as the machine aspect, those are part of knowledge development. Our training of our student is not about a job today, but it's a job for the future. They must be able to be adaptable to the changes that are coming forward. In other words, they must be able to be people who are long life learners.
All right.
So that they can be able to plug into any changes that are happening.
Okay.
And that is, but we should be able to train you such that you can be able to become a long life learner and be able to adapt with the changes. And that's what is going to happen.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, the kind of graduates we are trying to produce are people who are not, if I may use the word very loosely, not just robots who learn things and memorize things. They're people who can be,
because they are making life, they can be freed to think of doing other things that are more meaningful or contributing to other aspects of the society. So it is, I think it's another thing that machines can do, which I think is a much better way of applying knowledge. So,
Prof. Dio, you mentioned about trying to now creating new curriculums that can now make graduates adaptable and not reliable on these areas. So what are some of the specific learning enhancement techniques that we wish, or Africa higher education space wishes to implement, that is going to end this century?
Most of our education is actually, currently, it is practically based. In other words, most of our students have got industrial attachment. So you're not only learning theory, you're learning how it is applied.
Okay.
And that way, you can be able to be a long life learner, because at the end of the day, if you can be able to read it to the changes, and that's what we want.
So who determines the programs here? So is the change, is artificial intelligence bringing the change to academia, or academia is being proactive to arrange curriculums that will meet it proactively?
You see, I told you that our curriculum, when we design our curriculum, it's not an issue that it's designed only from the university. We bring in the whole stakeholder environment. There's industry coming in, there is government coming in, and all of these people inform what the curriculum is all about.
Okay.
So those kind of changes that are happening in a particular subject are all embedded in the development of the curriculum. And that's you can't have anything better than that, where the stakeholders have actually a say as to what is being taught at the university.
If I can add, you'd asked a question about how the university contributes to the society.
Yes.
There are two ways. One is, of course, producing graduates who are going to drive initiatives that happen in society. But also the university has another role, futuristic thinking.
Okay.
You can look at how, because of interactions, partnerships, and engagement with people from other, you can engage trends in certain areas and try and influence society towards the adoption of new technology. So both ways work, because you give what society wants, but also you can look at the possibility of thinking of what society should need in the future and produce graduates who are oriented towards that kind kind of direction.
Okay.
I think both ways are roles of the universities.
Okay.
Higher education.
So it has come to bear that African scholars rather succumb to publishing their research findings rather than commercializing them. We understand that these are due to donor and other promotion conditions. What is the case in the University of Rwanda in this matter?
I don't think so. Look, your statement says African scholars.
Yeah.
I tend to think the issue is about scholars in general. So it's not an issue that
the African scholar
should be painted at
on the African scholar's face. Scholars generally.
See, it's an issue that internationally it is always said publish or perish. It is international. It's not an African thing. So we must unpack that and put aside the African aspect.
Sure.
And then let's come back to answer your question after removing that, and to tell you that yes, universities are here to generate knowledge and to disseminate knowledge.
Yes.
And the only way university knows best to disseminate that knowledge is through publication, through the journal articles. Right?
Yeah.
But it's not an issue that the academics don't want to commercialize it. It's an issue that there is that knowledge gap between the research being done and the transfer of that knowledge into commercialization. And that is what the university is working on now, you see. So that it's not just simply an issue of generating knowledge for the purpose of generating knowledge and disseminating it through either media, like now what we are doing now, but at the same time is how is that knowledge being translated into a commercialable kind of knowledge. And that is a process on its own. It's a process on its own. The issue that funders insist on you having to, publish your work without commercializing it, that is not really there. That isn't most of the research being done. People would like to commercialize it if it can be commercialized.
Will you agree that our continent, Africa, has not developed that much because of the inability to commercialize research?
I don't seem to think that we haven't developed much, because at the end of the day, I'll simply say Rwanda is not the same today as it was 5 years ago. So we are developing at our own pace, and we must enter the knowledge economy in our own terms. We must not enter the knowledge economy by the North's barometer. So the issue of the development, if you were to ask me, maybe we are not doing enough research in Africa, and that is because of the government investment into research. While the North, there is more investment into research. In Africa, that investment hasn't really materialized to the level that is really will be able to make us be to that level. But most of the African countries today will tell you that they want to be a knowledge-led economy. And that means that it will be important for the government to invest in what they are talking about. The knowledge economy will not just come without investing into research and development. But we are developing at our own pace.
If I may add,
sure.
If historically, I'm sure I've heard of the expression of ivory tower. I think universities were seen as places where people are doing research and publishing, but that research in many cases was not really addressing societal problems.
Okay.
And if you look at the history of people who invented things and systems, they are not necessarily associated with universities. So, but gradually, there was a realization that that research is meaningless if it is not impactful. And that's why now you see there's a lot of association between research and innovation.
Okay.
And there's a lot of interest in making sure that that research goes out or addresses specific problems in the society. And this has been a development in higher education research. And now there's also the emphasis of collaboration between industry and academia to make sure that the research is aligned to solving problems that are being faced in the society as indicated by industry and so on. The issue of investment is true. If you look at many of the countries that are advanced, Korea, Israel, United States, China, the per capita investment in R&D is much higher than African countries. But we are making progress. And if you look at Agenda 2063 of AU, almost all the governments have committed to a certain percentage of their GDP towards funding R&D, which I think is a good development.
Great. Hello there, and if you just joined us, it is AAU Talks on AAU TV. We're discussing the higher education space in Rwanda. And we'll have to go for a quick pause. When we come back, we'll be talking about how interested is the government of Rwanda and therefore African governments' interest in researchers from our universities. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Oh, you know, this is a very important university for the people of Rwanda. The government and the people of Rwanda expect a lot from this university. It is a university that is called to be the benchmark of quality of teaching, the benchmark of research to address developmental challenges of our country.
As we teach, it's part of kind of materials that we are putting in, like production materials. So we need to have an output. Who is the student who is going now to be useful to the nation and in different aspects. As you can see, the country has shifted from poverty reduction towards the national transformation. That implies the need of additional skills that needs to be bridged by the students that we are producing currently.
At the University of Rwanda, the quality and standard of teaching is very solid and cannot be compromised. I joined the university with a lot of impression and expectations, and until now, my hopes have not been dashed.
The quality of education in the University of Rwanda is, I think, one of the highest standards. It's like they prepare the students to be entrepreneurs in the country, and at the same time, should they reach a situation to go outside, let's say to the US or Europe, they can also survive there. The quality of education is very, very high. It's actually, I would say, it will prepare you for any job, any situation you want that you can be thrown at.
During this small experience that I've passed here, I've landed. Being in a university it's not just about academics. They've taught me a lot of different things, how to adapt with the social and civic rights, how to be responsible and to find the enemy.
For me, I want to see the university in the next 10 years where there is a very strong linkage between the university community, students, university lecturers, researchers, and also citizens or community, because we owe them a lot of responsibilities in terms of knowledge, in terms of technology, in terms of innovations to handle different difficulties that they are meeting in their day-to-day business and activities.
The kind of university we ultimately want is a university that allows people to become the best kind of people they were ever meant to be. You know? And again, it comes back to a university being a space of 3 or 4 years in the space of a young person's life, where they're protected from many of the other pressures of needing to seek employment and start their careers, but a space in which we provide them with opportunities to become the best.
Welcome back to AAU Talks on AAU TV. We're discussing higher education space in Rwanda. And back to my panel here, it's getting interesting. I want Ms. Florence to talk a little bit about this. Do you see the productive sector in Rwanda interested in the output of research from the universities in here?
Thank you. When we come to Rwanda specifically, there is a lot of interest in the education and research in particular. For the University of Rwanda, our main funder is the government.
Okay.
So that is a clear indication that the government is much interested in the higher education and research in particular. I would want to request Prof. Dale to comment on that.
Most definitely. All right, Prof. Dale. So your views, is the private sector so much ready to receive research outputs from the universities in Rwanda?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
And in our development of our research, we do have a lot of industrial collaboration, right?
Okay.
There's industrial collaboration. I did tell you about having attachment. It is aspect of the industry being interested in what is coming out of Rwanda.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, these are the future leaders of industries.
Yes.
And therefore, they are starting at a much earlier age in terms of our curriculum and making them to be part of that, and as you know, as part of the long life learning, and is part of that particular curriculum. The research that we are doing has to inform the industry as well, and therefore there is that collaboration, close collaboration with the industry. And you know, if you look at the kind of research, and I've told you that we have put the research into clusters, and these clusters are addressing the societal needs. Some of these are actually going to be incorporating or collaborating with the industry. The kind of work we are doing in agriculture, it's of interest to the agricultural industry. You see, we have talked about the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. That again is an issue where we can be able to bring in the kind of question, the kind of aspect that the industry is battling with, and be able to bring them back into the university and to be able to investigate and to research them and to be able to answer those questions. So yes, there is that particular interest, and the interest is not only one way from the industry to university. It is also for university to be able to be of interest to the industry, because it does make their research impactful. So the interest is both ways. And government, that's why we talk about triple helix. When we talk about triple helix, we are talking of the government, the university, and the industry.
Okay.
But now we are moving into quadruple helix, where you bring in the stakeholder, the society, and the community, so that whatever you are doing is impacting on these four spheres, and therefore you are advancing the whole country.
If I may add, in terms of private sector interest, all our centers of excellence, the ones I mentioned that are funded by the World Bank, have got a number of private industries or private sector as partners in their activities. So whether it's energy, Internet of Things, or as I mentioned, data science, all have got private partners, which I think is a manifestation of the interest that the private sector has in what the university is doing in research.
Okay, so there happen to be this appalling fact that Africa averagely contributes less than 1% of GDP to research and development. And I want to know what exactly is preventing higher commitment of GDP to research and development in our continent.
I think, okay, let me tell you this.
Yes.
That question would better be asked to the Minister of Finance, but we'll try and answer it.
Okay.
Because you're asking us about GDP, because we don't sit in the government budget.
Yeah.
But I tend to think you must understand thing that as an African country, we have so many competing interests on that GDP.
Okay.
And research is just one of them. You see, so at the end of the day, the government must be able to balance these competitive needs on that particular budget.
Yeah.
And I can assume that It's the same thing with your budget at home. You see, so at the end of the day, we may simply say that we all want to drive a V8.
Yes.
But at the same time, you may have to settle for a Beetle because the budget doesn't really accommodate it. So we can't force the government to put 4% onto research when there are other issues that deals with maybe poverty alleviation and addressing those societal needs. So I tend to think it's an issue, it's work in progress, if we put it that way. And we know that the government of Rwanda is committed. It has just formed the National Council of Science and, Technology. And through that particular body, it is going to be more or less the mouthpiece of sourcing for research funds to be able to drive the Rwandan research agenda.
I want to add something.
Okay.
If you look at how development has gone worldwide, when we went into the era of the knowledge economy,
yes,
there was realization, whether in Africa or wherever, that we also have donors. There's a lot of partnership, which the government can't manage alone. And as you mentioned before, in other countries, I think Ghana, where they levy the taxes so that people can contribute to the higher education, because it is expensive in reality.